See shadow, it's all I know. Tell me now, where did you go? I lost the light, losing your eyes. How come you don't let it shine? I see shadow, it's all I know. Tell me now, where did you go? Tell me now, where did you go?
Hello, wonderful people. Princess India here. I felt like reading, but I didn't feel like looking like nothing. So, hello to my desk. So, I'm just going to do a random spread on if it's over between you and somebody that you're not with anymore. Is it a done deal? So, let's go ahead and jump in and find out. We're going to ask Spirit to give us clear and direct guidance for whoever this reading is for. I ask that whatever is of utmost importance come to the forefront in this reading. And as always, I thank you in advance, Spirit, because I know you're good for it. We're also going to ask that my subbies don't make fun of my nails because I got 2 chip ones. So we're just going to act like we don't see that. All right. All right, let's see what is going on. So this spread will probably resonate for someone that you are in separation from. And if you were curious if it's a done deal or if there's hope. Okay, let's get these cards out and hope and pray that I have enough room. Oh, good Lord. Should I take both of those because both of those wanted to come out? Let's do it. Trying to make sure I have room, y'all. Probably not gonna have room. Okay, maybe I might. Am I gonna get lucky? If I overlay them. Oh, good Lord. Okay, wait. Okie dokie. So for our first card, we're looking at what is this person's true thoughts about you. And we have the Star in the reverse. So this person in reference to you, they can feel like the hope is kind of lost in this situation. They could feel that the situation isn't really fruitful. That the situation, and this is of course in a mental space, but just feeling like there's not really any hope for fixing whatever it is that's wrong with the situation, right? Or what caused you guys to go your separate ways. Now, this person's true feelings for you, we have the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. So it's feeling as if this isn't an equal give and take, feeling more along the lines that it's a one-sided kind of relationship. Feeling that it's a struggle between the two of you. And I don't want to necessarily say in a financial sense, but I mean, it could be a financial strain as well, but just feeling like they give more into the situation than they're receiving back. And why the situation is not working, we have the Hermit. So the situation isn't working because there's a lack thereof of listening to, well, I just heard something else. The reason why the situation isn't working is because it's not seeing the truth about the situation, a refusal to face one's shadow, and a refusal to utilize one's intuition in relation to the connection. So very well... I'm trying to see how it is I'm hearing that. It's like it's a need of, and this is going to sound so weird. It's, well, not super weird, but it's more or less a need to know oneself before you can know the other. And that's not happening, right? Because I feel that in relation to this relationship is going to require some level of shadow work, I guess you would say. A level of shadow work and needing to know oneself, being clear on oneself, right? So the fact that that isn't happening is what's creating resistance, because it's almost as if both people are not seeing each other as they actually are. It's seeing projections of oneself on to the other. And I hope and pray that that makes sense. Now, next, we're looking at what this person wants from you. We have the King of Pentacles in reverse, and we have the Justice card. That's interesting. That's hella selfish, to be quite honest. It's more or less saying that they want balance, they want fairness, but their definition of balance and fairness, and this is putting all of this into perspective, their idea of balance and fairness is serving them. So, God, that puts all that into perspective, and that is so horrible. Good Lord. So in other words, we're dealing with a person who's very, very self-centered, right? What they want from you is more. So it's almost a situation, and this is hella toxic, when we look at the fact of like how it is that they feel towards you, and they feel that this isn't an equal give and take, that they give too much, right? Giving too much is crumbs, in other words. The little that they give is way too much. The a lot that you give isn't enough, right? So this is kind of like someone where if they gave you something, there's like a price to pay for a gift, right? So it's kind of like if a person like this does something nice for you, it's like, okay, let's say hypothetically, your light bill's due, you ask to borrow money from them, and after the countless times their light bill was due and you've always paid it, the one time that you end up in a financial bind and they actually help you out, they will never ever let you forget it. It's like, it's almost as if the roles would be reversed. They would completely negate every single time that you've done it for them, and they would continuously remind you of that one time that they did it for you, and you couldn't really ask for anything again. Because it's like, oh, you're always asking for something. But notice that I said that this is something that you could have done for the person countless times. So it's almost the little bit that you ask for is still too much, right? So when we're putting this into the framework of this question, what they want from you, it's like what they want, right? It's literally asking for too much, right? Their concept of balance is giving more to them while they give none, which is the same thing I'm seeing here. And the same thing I'm seeing here with the Hermit, because like I said, it's like it's a projection of one shadow onto the other. So it's literally in this person's mind, it's flip-flopped, right? They feel the situation is hopeless because you don't give enough. But in reality, you're giving more than enough. But more than enough still isn't enough for a person like this, if that makes sense. Next thing is, what do you need to do to improve the relationship? And we have the Three of Pentacles, and that's working together. So it's a need to cooperate. There's a need for an equal give and take on both sides, and for all of the people involved. I don't know why that just wanted to come out like that. Why did that just want to come out like that? I'm terrified of why it is that wanted to come out like that. But there's a need to work together, right? Because there's a lack thereof of a plan or an end goal or what we're doing, or are we on the same page? It feels almost as if it's kind of like winging it and hoping for the best. And if we could put this in very practical terms here, if you think about, doing what they're doing here, like building something. It's like, in reality, could you really make a sculpture or build a building without a blueprint, right? Like, would you want to visit a building or live in a building that was built without a blueprint, without checking the measurements, without seeing the bigger picture of what it is that's being built? Probably not, because it'd probably be a danger to everyone. So it's the same thing when it comes to a relationship. There's a need to have a vision of what it is that we're working towards. It's a need for everyone that's involved to be on the same page. So each member of the partnership can be, putting in work or contributing to the overall vision and goal for the relationship, right? So in order for the situation to improve, both people need to be on the same page and working towards a like goal, right? And what is the person willing to do or not to do? Stand their ground. Not stand their ground. What they're willing to do, stand my ground. What they're willing to not do, stand my ground. So this person is pretty much set in their ways, in so many words. Yikes. Okay, best way for me to put this is, this would be a person who's legit convinced of their own rightness, right? Backing down isn't really so much of an option for them. And I can say that this is true in the sense of, if we look at this from a shadow self, or even if we looked at this literally from a psychological perspective, the fact of the matter is, until we face our own shadows, right, the parts of ourselves that we deny, right, we're always going to see the shadow on everyone else. Like, that's just the name of the game here, people, right? So until you do shadow work, every single thing that you dislike in other people is really yourself. Right? Like, that's just the reality of the situation. Trying to convince someone of such of a thing becomes, you sounding delusional. So can you force a person to see their shadow? No, you can't. It has to be something that a person is ready to do. So until that happens, and I say that with all of humanity, like, this is literally everyone, right? Until we do our personal work, we always see our shadow on other people. So the people that irritate you, the people that get on your nerves, I can't stand people like that. If ever you have a really strong stance on a person or a group of people, and it's just something about them that you cannot stand, that just gets under your skin, that irritates you to no end, or makes you scoff, or makes you disgusted, 9 times out of 10, that is your shadow. The thing that you despise in them is the same thing that exists in you, but it's a lack thereof of embracing it. Now, putting this into the context of a relationship, that means this person, when they look at you, they're seeing their shadow. They don't see you. So they're rejecting you the same way that they're rejecting their shadow. So they see themselves as protecting themselves. They see themselves as standing their ground, right? But, wherever you go, there you are. The energy I get from this person, it's like it's a solo ranger, It's a person who feels that they're fighting for their best interest and protecting themselves from people that are opposing forces. That's what prevents this working together from happening, right? So this person thinks that it's almost seeing as if you are their worst enemy, yet not realizing that they are their own. So with the two of you being in separation, they're thinking that they're free from the thing that they were defending themselves against, not realizing that that same little shadowy figure is still, right there in their life, and it's them. How dope is that? Okay. How will the communication be between the two of you in the event that you do communicate? What? I know you lying. It'll be balanced. If this person's doing shadow work right now, do you know how happy I would be? This would make Princess very happy. But it's kind of like it's back and forth. It's trying to still find... What's the word I'm looking for? It's gauging. I don't know, like I'm doing literally the temperance thing. Because of course we know like balance, it's not a state that you ascend to and remain. Balance is a constant recalibrating, right? So it never stops. To maintain balance, there has to be minor adjustments here and there, right? So in so many ways, when it comes to how the two of you will communicate, it's still going to be that recalibration, but still remaining a homeostatic state. I want to clarify this just to be sure, because I want to make sure that this isn't saying that, actually, let me use this deck. I just want to make sure that this isn't saying that that homeostatic state is the state that it's always been. I still would be very happy if this person was actually doing shadow work. That would be gangster. That would make me so happy. Whoa. Okay. Knight of Swords. Okay, yeah, that's it's not necessarily good. Okay, so I'm looking at the fact with Avatar. Now I don't read this in reverse, but I always take into account when it comes out this way. The first initial thing I want to say is balance. Temperance is my balance card. But the thing that I'm taking into account, like I said, balance is a process. It's a adjustment, right? And I always look at that as homeostasis. So if you kind of look at it like your AC unit in your house, it's like if you set it to 76, if it goes, above that, it's going to turn on to get it back to 76 and so on and so forth. So it's going to keep turning off and on until it gets it to where it needs to be, right? So looking at the fact that there's a lack thereof of cooperation, right? And a person who's kind of set in their ways, taking all of that into account, I'm like clarifying to make sure that the state that's being maintained, the balance that's being maintained, what the energy was of that. And then we have the Knight of Swords that came out aspected in the reverse, right? Which means that it's verbally violent, rather cruel in how the person is speaking, very brash, very cutting, not really considering what one is saying and how that would really affect someone. And it could be coming in and out really quick, just kind of like coming in like a verbal assassin and then like out of there type of deal. So it sounds like quarreling to me. So it doesn't really seem as if it's going to be fruitful or productive, if that makes sense. Now, the next card that we have, we're looking at if there's someone else on their mind. Yikes. And we have the Ace of Swords. Interesting. So, yes, it would seem that this person, it's a new... it could be sexual. I'm just going to be honest. Nothing that's like, lovey-dovey, want to spend the rest of my life with this person. But I don't even know why I want to say it like this, but the thing that I heard was like a new piece of tail. Y'all know I don't talk like that. But it's something that titillates their fancy. Let's just go ahead and say it like that. Okay? So next we're looking at, will you be happy with this person if they come back? You're going to be waiting nonetheless. I feel like in the event that this person does come back, this is to me the state that you're always going to be in. You'll always be waiting for them to come back. That would be a constant. And you know what I'm feeling? I'm more or less feeling in this area, I feel like a pattern. It's almost like anytime there's like communication or a conversation about getting on the same page or wanting a commitment or wanting the person to officially claim you, put a title on, whatever, it's almost as if this is a cycle that happens, right? So it's like, you know, it's almost like, okay, your hopes are dashed. You're going within, trying to figure stuff out, trying to see where you went wrong and things of the sort. You know what I'm saying? An argument happens, they peace out, you wait, if that makes sense. It's like a cyclical type of thing. So when we talk about if, like, would you be happy? I feel like you'd always be in this waiting state, if that makes sense. It's always, you know, I don't even think I need to clarify that. It's almost like always, like, you see Three of Wands here. It's like always waiting for them to bring that fourth wand. But they're bringing the fourth wand everywhere else in America. You know what I'm saying? It's like igniting new beginnings everywhere, but they're never giving anybody else three other wands, and they're never giving you the last one. So it's almost like everything always stays in this very undone kind of state, right? So the next question is, should you move on? And we have the Emperor in the reverse. I would take that as a yes, right? Because the Emperor reverse, this is someone who is extremely immature. Someone that has an extremely huge ego. And this is just solidifying. Like seeing the Emperor reverse with a person with a mentality like this, you know, they're not really trying to change, right? And this is like a hella narky, because I look at the Emperor reverse as like monarch card. But all of these behaviors exhibited here, it's like looking at the Ace of Wands, like, is it someone else? Not saying that it's someone else that they're in love with, but it's the fact that it's going to get supply from someone else. It's love bombing someone else, right? And that would explain it being like a cycle, you know? Because everything has to happen on their terms. But it's like to be giving so much and to never get, or them to never reciprocate, and them feeling that it's unfair unless you give them more, you know, that's hella narcissistic. It's like the whole sole purpose of this relationship is how things serve them, right? So should you move on? I would most certainly take that as a yes. Okay. Now next we have, will they return in the near future? Yes, with extra petty. Gotta love it. The near future for you guys within the next 3 months. We have the Strength in reverse. It's a need for self-love here. Because looking at how this pans out, this is where it becomes a form of self-abuse. Right? It's always going to be petty squabbles. It's always going to be conflict. It's always going to be feeling as if one is being dominated. Right? And this is literally the near future here. If they come back, it's just going to be more drama. It's going to be more of them overpowering you, more of them making you feel less than, right? The outcome, we have the Knight of Cups in reverse. A little half-ass offer. My little drunken ex card, you know, might hit you up when they're a little tipsy, you know, giving you the illusion thereof of an offer. But in so many words, it's saying that it's still going to be the same thing. It's not going to, as it stands now, it's not panning out into what I think you would want, which is working together, which would be a solid commitment. You know what I mean? It's just gonna be a very it's a very codependent kind of thing going on here. And I mean, that's both on their end, like on an addiction kind of standpoint, you know what I mean? And then like an unhealthy relationship addiction or connection between you guys. It's almost like an addiction to chaos. And the feeling I really get is almost it would almost be like trying to vindicate oneself, if that makes sense. It would be an attempt to vindicate oneself, almost as if and it could be kind of subconscious, of thinking that maybe, you know, if you win this person over, like, because it's almost like a person who's lost self-esteem and lost value throughout the course of this, right? And it's feeling like if I win this person back, or if they pick me, or if we end up together, it's not really the person that you're trying to get back. It's like trying to get your validation back, if that makes sense. So it's almost like being with the person will give you a sense of having won yourself back from this person, or a facet of yourself from this person. I hope that makes sense. Now your advice, we have the Queen of Wands in the reverse. This is a need to stand in your power. This is exactly what I'm saying here. It's almost as if the situation has disempowered you a great deal. The conflict has become the new normal. But it's like in all of the pettiness and all of the waiting and all of the self-sacrifice, it's like one's self-esteem and confidence has been diminished. And one's life has become a game of waiting for the half-ass offer. So it's almost as, and that's kind of how manipulation works. It's like over time, a person downplays your expectations, right? And that's kind of like Iceberg Slim, old school pimp game. You know what I'm saying? It's like giving a little and then like almost like love bombing you, pulling completely back, right? To where it's like you're blaming yourself and trying to figure out where you went wrong, right? And then the person comes back and gives a little and you get excited, right? But then the person will take it back again and you don't know what it is that you did. So it leaves you in this state of unease and being unsure. So you start to kind of walk on eggshells because you never quite get clarity on why it is the person pulled back in the first place, right? So you're being very cautious on what you do. You ask for less and less because you don't want to like rock the boat and have the person peace out again type of deal, right? And it's like in the process of all of this, being emotionally starved and traumatized in a sense, because you don't really know what it is that's triggering the person to go. You just know that they go and then they blame you for the reason why they go. And then you're trying to figure out why it is that you're the reason, but you don't get the solution. So it's almost like minimizing yourself and your expectations over time. So now it's like your life literally revolves around the person leaving, coming, leaving, coming, leaving, coming, which in turn, when the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands in the upright is an empowered person. She's the mother figure. She's nurturing. She's creative, right? Everything that she touches turns to life. Hence the reason why her scepter is a sunflower, right? So it's life-giving. It's the ultimate creator, a person who's motivated, has entrepreneurship skills, very future focused and things of the sort, right? Very happy, joyous person, very warm. All of those personality traits are diminished, right? So it's almost being reactive to life in general, right? It's your light almost being snuffed out, or showing up in a very like a half-hearted shell of your former self, in a sense, right? It's not being very energetic. It could be depression. It could be anxiety, right? It could be being very negative, very cold, you know, in your relationships to things in your life, period, overall, right? So the key is, especially seeing the strength in reverse here, and I'm seeing Aries, Virgo, Sagittarius, Aquarius, and Leo and Libra are all the signs I see. But what's most important here is re-empowering yourself. And I say it's nothing to be ashamed of, because in a situation with a person like this, it's not shocking to see this panning out this way. It's like this is the atypical byproduct of situations that work like this, right? So when it comes to overall, is it over? Should it be over? How it's looking? It's a blessing in disguise, you know? That it is. And I'm going to throw the dice of resonance, just because this is a general random reading. This is not a quickie, clearly. Just in case if you're wondering if this is for you. Of course, this is one of those things, you know, you're going to know if this resonates or not. We have Capricorn and Aries. Let's get some initials. We have the letter M, and that can be you or their first or last name. We have P. What's that? We have G. And we have B. So if you have these letters, first, middle, or last name, if you're an Aries or a Capricorn or any of those signs that I listed here, this reading may be for you if you were curious. But like I said, this is not sunshine and rainbows. So 9 times out of 10, you would know if you resonated or not. I want to pull you another advice card from my new deck that I love ever so much. It's the Chakra Wisdom Tarot deck. Oh my gosh, I'm about to drop it. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Seriously? This deck has a mind of its own. I'm not even joking when I say that. That's 3 cards. the Five of Wands, the Sun in reverse, and the Nine of Coins. Interesting. Now, her meanings for these are entirely different, but of course, if we just do traditional tarot meanings here, we're talking about walking away from conflict, going in the direction of true happiness, because we look at the Sun card, it's like material happiness, but it's more or less your idea of material happiness. That would be the overall spiritual lesson in all of this, is that it's deducing oneself to believe, despite everything, and notice that these two are next to each other, but anyway, despite taking into account what conflicts you had between the person, it's more or less not realizing the conflicts that existed within you in reference to this, and not seeing that this was not your ultimate end-all be-all level of happiness. It was always happiness contingent upon, right? One day out there in the future, maybe, if we're lucky, I'll get my other wand, right? And it's making the decision going forward to cultivate that for yourself. But the dope thing about our girl Tori here, she be on point with her guidance. I've waited for this deck for years. Y'all don't even understand. I guess that real. All right, let's see. Five of Wands. These women are too well dressed and prepared for something far more elegant than their current location. They may have gathered to compare what they each have, yet their body language believes where they are in the varying stages of manifesting. If the fifth chakra sends our manifesting message out to the universe, could it be that mixed messages are being sent? This card may trigger discomfort and an old feeling of things being more difficult than they really are. Is this a time when you generally give up? And Inner Circle challenges a skirmish, impatience, and hassles. Let's see, the Sun. The Fool has joined her darkness and light. The Fool sends her thoughts out to the universe, and the Sun illuminates the true chakra energy. She wears pure blue, which indicates the activation of her fifth chakra. The Chariot carries her dreams. Could it also contain her legacy? And with it being in the reverse, it talks about doubt, being melancholy, unhappiness, pessimism, workaholic, personal breakdown, inability to experience joy. Oh, and Jupiter, retrograde energy. You are being offered the opportunity to consider where you are now, and the planet of expansion and luck supports you in reviewing your options. Don't we have something going on with Jupiter right now? And they have a meditation, and it says, create a list of feel-good questions to use on days when you could use an energetic boost. What was it like when I won the contract, championship award, etc.? Or, when I have stood up for what is right, I feel blank. The answers will create a feeling of a higher vibration. Opening up your intuitive highway will allow solutions to come to you. And lastly, the Nine of Coins. Nine of Coins. Donde está? There you are. Here we are. Okay. Making wise financial choices means investing in memories, not things. The boldness of the orange orchid indicates personal pride and achievements that are yours to enjoy. The higher vibration of our emotional relationship with finances is the trance of financial freedom. Guide your emotions, harness them, and allow them to propel you into abundance. Continual focus on how to create financial security can create a lack of self-care. Hoarding or a lack of generosity can lead to illness. Imagining yourself in fearful situations. Independence, security, sophistication, ownership, harvesting, and prime. So what I think this is saying to you, my dear, is taking into account in all areas of your life, not just this relationship, what areas you feel can utilize improvement, what you feel is your ultimate happiness, giving consideration to what that is, or the last time that you felt that. And like I said before, making a decision to cultivate that and build that for yourself. I always say that love and money energetically go hand in hand. They come from the same source, right? It's abundance, or a form of abundance, energetically speaking. So the thing is if we're going back to the strength in reverse, right? If you're not feeling abundant as an individual personally, it's going to affect you in a myriad of different areas in your life. And also looking at the fact that what exists within us also exists outside of us, we want to be able to heal those conflicts and level out those conflicts within, right? So that they no longer manifest without. So all in all, I feel that this situation, this relationship, situationship, whatever the case it may be, I feel that this was a viable personal lesson, right? To teach you something about yourself. And I know that's very hard to hear in situations such as this. But whenever we're triggered by someone, it's always something to be learned in that. It's always spirit using a person or a circumstance to show us, right? So this is giving you an opportunity to see something like an inequality of how one is fulfilling others' needs over their own, and how that's something that needs to change, in the sense of making yourself a priority, making sure that your cup is overflowing before you give to someone who is not capable of reciprocating, right? But I love your freaking face, and I hope that this helped. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'm giving you a hug. I'll talk to you guys sooner than later. Deuces.
Energy, about to get in and fuck up the industry.